we are today just going to do a short recap of what happened from our first podcast. So if you're new listening to this for the first time, I just would like Pernilla to introduce her, the founder and the creator of the process of Awakening 101 and the website Awakening 101.
Okay. So what would you like me to say? Talk about me?
No, but just, who the fuck are you, honey? You mean,
okay.
Just give me, well, why should I listen to you?
Okay. So my name is Pernilla Burke, and I am the founder of Awakening 101. And this podcast is a description or a sort of a journey of how it came to be. And we're calling it the process of Awakening 101 because that's how I saw this process to be. Like it's basically a story of the journey of my life, coming from a place of growing up, lots of anxiety, becoming a drug addict, turning to meditation and recovery, and then this starting to write and coming into this website where we came up with this theme or theory of Awakening 101, which basically talks about what awakening, how it could be found in ordinary moments in your own life. That's what it's all about. But it sounds very serious, and this is not a serious podcast.
No, so, but I mean, I think it's just for people who's being new. It's just that was a wonderful introduction, Pernilla, and I just think it's important that your website Awakening 101 is like a spiritual library, completely free, and anyone can access to it. There are some really, I mean, divine sources of wisdom, I would say, that is available for anyone. And to get this even more, having a bigger dialogue and not feeling maybe alone in this, we wanted to create this podcast as we been best friends since we were 4 years old, and life, life is just folding out differently for all of us, but then we meet in different paths in life and stuff like that. So as you said, this podcast is really to join you and also me on the journey through life and how awakening have changed our life or improved our life, right?
I think also the podcast is to sort of verbalize and bring it into conversation, the things that we're talking about, so that it doesn't seem so far-fetched. I mean, That's my whole intention with the website is like, if we always think about awakening from the standpoint of something that can only happen to somebody who lives in India or lives in a cave, then no one's going to even try,
No.
So,
but let's stop there because I think let's step into to today's source and essence of today's podcast, because you're touching it. What is awakening for you? For me, I think we can see awakening in many different ways. So but just make this a little bit basic. So, how do you see awakening? What does it mean for you? Because you said, it is difficult, or is it difficult to reach? Or why does it feel unreachable for certain people? What is it all about?
Yeah. It's such a huge question, right? Like we could talk about that for 3 weeks. So what awakening means to me now, let's start there. I think it's coming to believe or understand that what life really is for me, right? So through all this journey, I come to a place where the things that matter are different than the things that mattered to me when I was younger, or 10 years ago, or 5 years ago even. So I think about awakening as the ability to be fully present, right?
But my question just to this, because I think I understand and I get you, but could you be? Isn't that the essence of life, that we can't? Are we born awakening or full awareness, or do we have to develop it as we grow. Do you understand what I mean? Because you said
Yeah.
even this is your
Yeah.
journey. So I mean, because when you look at life, you could almost say that we're living life in the wrong direction. We should actually start by being 100 and then going back with the wisdom and awakening we have. But then
Yeah.
we miss, then we miss being a child, being completely, not,
This
not
is very
having all.
good. Yeah, I think that awakening, I think that when you're a newborn baby, you're fully awake, right? You're fully awake. And then our world and our sort of complexities and neuroses start to affect you. You have if you have a 6-month-old, that 6-month-old is completely present and fully loving, right? Because like the key things are like connection, love, presence, right? So the 6-month baby loves his mother unconditionally. He feels connected to her and he's fully present. He doesn't see anything that is past and future. And then as the years go by, we as human beings, and that's part of the human condition, nothing that is wrong and nothing is imperfect or perfect. It just is. That then the things start sort of piling onto us where we start worrying about the future. We're worrying about this person likes us or not, or do we have enough, or why doesn't my mom have this better car than my friend? I mean, it just goes crazy, right? Over the span of our lives. And then there's some people like you and me who starts questioning why does these things matter to me, and why don't I feel like this life here, that it doesn't make any sense, like why are we even here? And that's what happened to me. So then over the span of years, I think that like some people choose to look into life in a deeper way. So and not a lot of people do. I would say most people, it's life gets so busy that they just don't have the time or the capacity to say, why am I getting up in the morning, or why am I triggered every time my wife says something to me, or why can't I find any moment of pause, right?
But
So
yeah, but just as you said, like some people have the searching spirit, or they open up those doors. But don't you ever think that sometimes life, in Buddhist we would call, and there is not a difference, a value between the two people, but we would call a person with a seeking spirit enlightened person, and a person who doesn't really deepen down more than ordinary person. Sometimes I think being an ordinary person must be so, understand me right, but wouldn't that sometimes be easier? You know what I
yeah,
mean? Wouldn't it
yeah,
sometimes be easier to not
yeah,
question what is my purpose in life? You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I think
Well,
it's
I guess it depends on how you see it, right? Like for me, I say that like through my life journey, I had maybe more obstacles and more trauma than most, right? I had like, severe drug addiction, and then I had a child with a birth defect. My husband had a stroke. I've moved a bunch of times. I mean, there's just and like suicidal depression over and over and over again, right? But all of those things were moments for me to grow deeper. And in the end, they helped me be this person that I am today. So you could say,
but it
yeah,
ain't over. It ain't over.
what? It
It ain't
ain't over.
over.
It's just going to keep coming. I mean, I know that now. I mean, we just had COVID. So like, I mean, come on, it's just keeps building, it's like always something. I always go every year. I'm like, all right, what is it going to be this year? So it depends on how you want to be, right?
Then sorry to interrupt, but when you say so, having that lightness and almost the highest life condition to be able to meet the challenges with that attitude, that doesn't come for free. That's something
Yeah.
you have worked through.
Yeah. That actually, I learned that from my therapist. This guy, his name is Robert Jameson, and him and we've been working together here and there for years. But he always says, when life comes, you say, "Oh, boy, more fun.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, I mean, of course, when your husband is sick or, when something happens with your child, it's hard to say that. But then as the years have gone by, I go, oh, here's another humongous, awful thing that we have to work through. Um, and, of course, I'm not saying that this is what I don't want bad things to happen to me. It's awful, and it's difficult. And no one wanted something like COVID to come, but I think that for the awakening process, right, to see that things come and that we can learn from them is like the step number one in this process. So, what did I learn from COVID, right? And for me, lots of things. I learned that I can, I took that time to deepen certain practices, and I took that time to create the website and write more, whatever. And that sounds like cheesy, I guess, but you learn to depend on something through all the obstacles. You say, okay, well, we got through this and I'm still okay. So what's on the other end of that? There's something there supporting us going forward. So when you say, like, isn't it easier to just be like a regular person who doesn't ask these questions and have like a little bit less shit happen to them, like happened to me? Yeah, maybe. But for me, I would be unsatisfied. Like that's what the problem, like that's how this all started. I was unsatisfied. I needed answers. Like, why the fuck are we here?
But did you just use the F word?
Yes, I mean, I can't be regular. I can't be doing this
Yeah.
without the F word. Oh no, we might be
You're,
blipped out.
we blipped out. What do you
Yeah,
mean we blipped out? Yeah, of
I
course we're
think there's
blipping out.
like the podcasting like world. You can't use that word.
Probably not.
So anyway,
But
you know what I'm saying?
we also need like the yin and the yang. We also need the opposite. So because for a reason it comes into my life, so I can really deepen my faith or my process of awakening, or what's, it's, we need it, we need it
The
to
balance, yeah,
right?
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing. I think about this a lot. Like, would I have been able to do this as seriously as I am with my spiritual practice if I hadn't gone through the years of standing on a
No,
speaker in a nightclub, and being out all night? I mean, I
I
really
just want to
think
say
that
something.
it's
If
the
someone
yin and the yang.
wait, if someone missed Pernilla's background, you should tap into the podcast number one, because the podcast number one, you get to know a little bit more who
Yeah.
Pernilla, or where she
No,
came
but
from, not
yeah.
who she. Okay, just a parenthesis.
No, but that's the thing. Like if you have, I think that the opposites of life are really important. It's the same thing as like whenever we feel bad, we get so upset, right?
Mm.
But when we're feeling good, we're like, oh, this is great. This is how it is. But feeling bad and feeling good are actually just as valuable in life. They're just part of the same thing. So it's the same thing here. Like, spiritual awakening or the awakening path. I think that like if you've experienced the other side of it, like we did with drug addiction, it's sort of like a boomerang effect. You come to the other side and you're like, wow, and there's something about that that's really profound. And we know, because we know a lot of people who've been in the program and stuff like that, that they really go hardcore into spirituality after, because we're seeking spirits, right? So I'm not saying, hey, you have to be a drug addict to be awakened, but
It's a good idea. It's a
yeah,
good
no, I
idea.
think it could be anything. I mean, I notice I work with a lot of young people, 30s and stuff, and they, I think that like the sort of social media era has also created a need for something deeper, because they've noticed already that this is a very sort of like, and I'm not poo-pooing social media because it's great and it works really well, and it's, enlarged so many communities and stuff like that around the world. But when you're dealing with a very sort of like on the surface sort of method, you find that you need to take time for yourself. And I've noticed that with a lot of young people, that they're already looking for meditation or yoga because they just It's too much to be in a screen world, you know?
Mm.
So,
Isn't
you know,
that what I just wanted to refer back to what we're all going to come into, and also tapping into, to bringing this forward in the process, back to the tools. But you say, when you say that we need to, it's about finding our space, right? It's about to really just feeling, when can I tap out from everything and just tapping into my space and try to be a witness of whatever is going on inside from moment to moment, even if it's a bad feeling or if it's a very positive or good feeling. Of course, the positive feeling will give me more positive thoughts, and in that way I get into a better flow, right? Than if I'm dragging myself down, 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 down. But
or
I just, I just want to say, because I just want to say, I do this mindful walking meditation in the forest here where I live.
So great.
It's wonderful, and I had this, she was only 20, she came with her mom, and she's like, Mom, it felt like I was in a movie. I was so present. I was listening to the sounds, I was smelling it, I could hear it. And it was so interesting, her reflection. And there was another, also 20 years young lady who came with her mother. I would never walk in the nature in the same way, because, you may be really becoming aware of, often when we go, we walk and talk with our mind. We don't experience with our heart, we don't experience with our body. But, when you're in the walking meditation and you get that space, and that's what I wanted to come back to, that your space, we need more and more to tap out and tap into ourselves. And with that, I really would like to say something that, because you also mentioned Eckhart Tolle on your site, who's been one of your masters or someone who inspires you a lot. But I always read one of his things when I'm out in the nature, and I just really would like to read it up. We depend on nature not only for our physical survival, we also need nature to show us the way home, the way out of prison for our own minds. We got lost in doing, thinking, remembering, anticipating, lost in a maze of complexity and a world of problems. We have forgotten what rocks, plants, and animals still know. We have forgotten how to be still, to be ourselves, to be where life is here and now. I think it's so beautiful.
Oh my God, he just nailed it.
That's what he's talking about, and you find your source in nature.
Yeah. I mean, that is, I've been thinking about this a lot actually in the last few weeks, because we've been talking about connection as a theme. And, I go out in the forest every day and I do various things. I walk my dog, I do pranayama, I jog, I do lots of different things in the nature. And I always think about what is it here that makes us feel present? And the thing that is so incredible is that so many of us use nature to make us feel better without even thinking about that's what we're doing.
So nice.
Everybody takes walks on the beach. Everybody goes walk with their dogs on, in nature on the beach. Everybody loves hiking. So there's so many things that we do. People go on beach vacations and they lie on the beach. Nature is the sort of the built-in presence that we as humans go to, and a lot of us don't even know that that's what we're doing. But everybody feels calm.
Because what you're saying there is that, and it's a big point, because what you're saying is that if we then will cultivate the tools and the elements in Awakening 101 and getting in the process of Awakening 101, you would even embrace the present moment even more, because you're being aware of the nature. That's what I hear you saying, right?
But the thing is, but I feel like if you were to line it up as steps, which I hate, it's not it's like a spider web of tools and elements, right? But nature is the number one thing that people can really tap into in the beginning. Like you were saying, these young women were coming with you on the mindful meditation walks, and they get it. They don't know why they get it, but they get it. You didn't teach them to feel that way. You didn't explain it to them with words. They just felt it, because that's the thing with the nature. We feel it there, and that's why it sinks in. It's a feeling that we remember. It's not a thought that we remember, and that's what's important. So
That's
I
I think we're
remember
going to take that statement. It's not the thought we remember, it's the feeling
the
we
feeling.
remember.
Yeah. I mean, because awakening in the
If
end
you
is
can feel it, yeah. If
the
you can feel it.
awakening. Awakening is not something that is in my mind, right?
No.
It's a feeling that I experience. So when I feel present, it's not something I go, oh, there's no thoughts in my mind. No, it's like a sensation of like, I have a sensation of presence, right?
But I have
Everything
to
is
say one,
still.
I got it. But I have to say one thing, because
Yeah.
I know for certain people, especially, no, I wouldn't say especially for recovering people, because I think you can be, you can be in any kind of trauma, or you can have been, but I think also depending on what kind of element which more present in your body, what kind of type in the Ayurvedic style you are. But I think some people are just more airy up in the head, have less access to their body and feeling their body. Because remember,
Everybody.
that's down to me also, the feelings are energy and all that. I mean, for me, it took, and I'm still in the process, I have to say, to really experience my feelings. I can be present with my with hearing, touching, with all the five senses or six senses, but the universe of feelings is not always easy to identify with or cope with.
Yeah. And the thing that you're talking about now, feelings,
we're not going to tap into that, because that's going to
no,
be,
it's a huge subject
But
matter.
what I'm trying to say is that I rather, when we are present in nature, what makes us feel present is that we're present with our senses. We're present here.
Exactly.
That's what we're remembering. So it's not the
Yeah.
feeling of,
Yes.
it's we present, we hear, we smell, we touch.
Yes, that's perfect.
Everybody has access to those, even if you are as fucked up as we are. Right.
Yeah, but I mean, I talk about this a lot. Like even when I was living in New York or in London, and I was like using drugs every night, I still on occasional days would take these long walks where I would like just, for 3-4 hours. And that's what I was doing. I didn't know that I was doing it until now when I'm thinking about all these things. But when I lived in London, I went to this like school on Tuesdays. I only went to school one day, and the rest of the week I was just in a nightclub. But it was in the north part of London, and I lived like in the southwest part of London. And I would walk home from school. It took 4 hours, but I did it every week because I would walk through these beautiful large parks that London has in the middle of London, and I would feel something, and those are the times I remember from that year in London, because I was literally so messed up. Like I don't remember anything. I'm mostly bad memories, but the walks and like along the river, and those are the times I remember, because that was something that I felt with my senses, just like you described. And the same thing in New York. So even though I was having all these times, I sort of mended my own spiritual self through walking along the Hudson, or experiencing the energy of Chinatown. So it's just something about like that part. I think that like we're sort of tapping into one of the really, really profound tools, which is nature. And it doesn't actually have to be forest. It can be walking in a large city, because there's something about the energy there too.
Yeah.
So,
nature, isn't that more like nature understanding, right? Of course, nature, the oceans, the elements, but as you say, like nature is an energy that's present in everything living around us, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the energy of the universe. It's everything has. If you look at the really deep sort of like yogic teaching, even the table has energy. We're not going to go there, but I would say that everything has energy. Manhattan as a whole, as a city, has a ton of energy. It's
Love it.
very, crazy energy, but it still has energy, just like anything, so, but I think if we're talking about the process of awakening, this is one of the tools, one of the aspects that are really important, has been really important to my journey. And if I talk about like the things that we learned from COVID, like say an example, nature saved my butt during that time. And I think for a lot of us, like that was the one thing that everybody could do. And more people than usual did. They took walks, they were outside, they gathered with their friends in their backyards, which maybe they never even went into their backyards before. So that's part of this awakening process, like awakening to that we can feel good in some way that we don't even really even know how it is. So,
but I get you. I am. I just wonder if we should, like you bring in the process of awakening of now when we have gone through a little bit of how we both experience awakening and how the world sees awakening and how it can, just by the five senses being present, starting the journey there without having to be in any specific place, just being exactly where you're at, feeling that you're connected to yourself in the present moment. I just want, so that's been, I think we should move this into, because you mentioned the tools and the elements, so I wanted to move this into one of the tools, the conscious living.
can I just ask you something first?
Yeah.
The quote from Eckhart Tolle, which book did you get that from?
I got that from one of his, it's in his book, I think it is in The Power Now, but it's from something, he has a website, and he has, there is a website called Echo Mail, I can send it to you, where
Because
they write.
I wanna keep that quote. It's really nice.
Yeah, I will send you that. And for you guys who's listening, if you're interested too, then we will post it on the pod, right?
Yeah.
No, because just to wrap this up, I wanted to end with a tool. So should we tap moving
Whatever
on?
you want. Yeah.
The conscious living, because I think that was what we, of course you mentioned nature and animals, but I think we have another podcast more based on nature and animals, right? So I think the conscious living is maybe more aligned till the awakening process of what we talked about and how your process have been, right?
So what specific conscious living, just like the aspect of nature and animals, is so huge, right? I could come up with like 15 things that would fall into the conscious living sort of area, right? Food, sleep, spiritual practices. So if we say we're going to talk about the way that we live conscious living now, or how you can start a process of that,
I think that I would like to, without you telling how conscious living you're, but I mean, as a listener, I guess that I would maybe get some tools of how, without getting a whole list of what to do. But we already mentioned, being present with your senses is a start of conscious living. But maybe you can give some tools of, if I now want to try to get on a more spiritual journey, or the process of awakening 101 being a deeper part of my life, if there are any tools, anything you would suggest?
Yeah. Whew, big question. So
we're going to come back and have a whole podcast of conscious living.
Yeah. No, I think that it's just I would say starting by asking how you spend your day. how you spend your time. And also asking yourself, like,
What
why, what?
that was so triggering. I was like, shut up. How can you even? I guess a lot of people have it the same way. You're not the only one.
Why?
It's so interesting
Why does that trigger you? That's so funny.
because I probably don't want you. Yeah, I
You
probably,
don't want to
yeah.
hear about this. You don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
talk
of
about this.
course I want to hear about it, but it's, I mean, it's always much easier to hear of someone else
Yeah.
and then have a dreamy
Oh,
thought of I could be there than doing
yeah.
it myself, because it
Oh,
requires
yeah.
some discipline and some, some
Yeah.
willpower to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I always want to stay away from the word discipline because that's a scary word.
Yeah.
If I say, oh, you have to be disciplined and, blah, 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 brush your teeth, then like, I run, you know, but I feel like the sort of the aspect of having like a sort of an inquiry mind, what am I spending my time on? How did I spend my day? Did it make me feel good or did it make me feel bad?
Well, I love
But
that. Wonderful.
yeah, so like if I wake up in the morning and I watch the news and drink 6 cups of coffee, that's going to make me feel bad, guaranteed. So those are the little things, like just like putting a second level of awareness on how you spend what?
I love when you say awareness, awakening. I love it, but that's
Yeah,
exactly.
awareness. But it's just that's what it is. Like just saying, like having like a moment of pause behind the actions of your day. You go, huh, why did I do that? Or why am I like
I just
food
need to
is
say
if food.
something. Here,
Yeah.
here I'm talking to the party queen of the 90s in New York, in London, talking about awareness and awakening. I'm
Yeah.
definitely
It's
blown away.
so bizarre. Isn't it so bizarre?
This is, if this
Yeah.
can happen for
It's like a
you, it can
fucking joke.
happen.
Yeah. Louise is so right. It's a joke, really. I mean, I was thinking about that yesterday when we were
But
thinking about.
it's just an inspire, I think that I
I
really
know.
hope people listening out there, if you feel that this is definitely nothing for you, then this is for you,
Yeah.
because if she can
Yeah. I
do it,
mean,
if we can do it, and anyone can do it.
exactly. No, I mean, it's like bizarre, really, that we sort of went from only caring about nightclubs and drugs and what we were wearing and like where the cool party was to this. Here we are. I got up at 5 this morning to sit here and talk to you about awakening.
I'm so
So change is possible. That's all I have to say. When people are like, oh no, people don't change. I'm like, no, well, if you want to, you can. And I think that's the whole message. You don't have to be a person in a nightclub doing drugs your whole life. You can change. And sometimes people seem to be losing hope that people don't change, but I really think that if you start a process of inquiry and conscious living, then you can. But I also want to say on this conscious living aspect, like it's not just self-inquiry and trying to understand why you do the things you do. And that comes first. That comes first. When I sort of started changing a little bit, like what I eat, it wasn't because I was trying to diet or anything like that. That's all. That's not. No, it was more like, okay, how do I feel when I start my day with an egg and bacon sandwich? I don't. It's like you eat it and then you're like, yeah, that's so yummy, and then like, you know. So that's another thing. You just, how do I feel when I do this thing? How do I feel when I watch 3 hours of Netflix before bed? I'm not saying that you should. I watched Netflix last night. I mean, so I'm not saying that that's not what you're supposed to do, but how do we feel when we
no,
do
but I
these?
think that's, I mean, that's, I mean, it's a, I understand. I'm with you in all this, and I maybe just also underline that it's only when you really hit the rock bottom in pain that you have a motivation to change. So when you've done the candy of Sweden and the cinnamon bread for 2.5 months and Netflix for 10 hours a day, then, after 2 months and a half, pretty much done with it, then you need to, we kind of, I think also that, we fall down, all of us, we fall down over and over and over and over again. But, if we don't fall down, we can't stand up again. We can't rise up, and we can't, and I think that's what that's the fuel, right? That must be. And what I wanted to come to that is, you want to find some lightness in that. Back to when you look at that challenge you're facing, you kind of course, you don't want to have all this shit happening in your life, but the attitude, you're more becoming aware that you can change the attitude or how you meet your problems. Get them a little bit, And I think that space you get when you're starting the awakening process, and also when you tap into meditation or yoga or whatever nurtures your own space.
But I wanted to say, just give me a second here. So the important thing is that to know that this process, I feel like there's, you said, you have to hit rock bottom to change. I don't 100% agree with that, right? Because our rock bottom is worse than 99% of the world's rock bottom, right? Like we went really far down, but what?
No, but I don't think that you can compare. The rock bottom is individual for each person.
Yes.
It could be.
Yes, exactly. That's my point. Like when you say rock bottom,
it could be a rock bottom for relationships. It could be a rock bottom for always getting fired, or always getting in conflicts with people. I mean, rock bottom is, and it's but it's a motivation. When you get enough, the change is there, right?
Yeah, and also there's two kinds of people. Not two kinds of people. It's not that black and white. But is that, quote, rock bottom going to make you start a process of awareness onto yourself, or is it going to make you do the same thing over and over and over again, and you just stick your head in the sand? That's the question. Like, how does a person choose to create more awareness from whatever rock bottom you have, or hide more? Because a lot of people just hide more from additional pain in life. They hide more. And for us, maybe additional pain was, oh, I got to figure this out. So what makes a person the one or the other? And that's sort of something that is always going to be a question. And then I just wanted to say also that this awareness or process that we're talking about, it's always going to be baby steps. So small, right? There's no way that you can go, because I see this a lot. Like, people say, okay, I'm going to start meditating. I'm going to do it an hour a day, and blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, and then it stops. When I started meditating, it was literally 1 minute in the morning and 1 minute in the evening. That's it. And that's all I could I couldn't deal with anymore, because it was so painful to sit there for 1 minute. It was just the most awful thing ever. And that's the thing. I think it's important to remember that in any process of awakening, it's so small. If you want to change something, don't do anything big. Don't go from like eating hamburgers and drinking Coca-Cola to like only eating salad leaves. It's like, what is a small thing that you can do to change? It's just one small thing over time. This process of awakening that we're talking about, I mean, it's taken me 25 years, but I'm not saying that like that's what it's going to take everyone. I think every single little step can shift everybody's life. So it's not like you want to get over here. Every small step that you take in shifting to greater awareness or greater connection, greater love, all the things that we're talking about in this awakening aspect is important. It's not so say one
Isn't
little
that,
thing is a success.
yeah, and isn't that exactly, but this is not an end. This is only a deeper and deeper understanding. So there is no goal. The goal is the process. The goal is
Yeah.
the journey. And I
The
think
goal is the
also,
process. Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
exactly. And also important that this is not to become a perfect person. You know what I mean?
No,
I think it's
perfection.
really important to, yeah, but it's like, oh, if I become more aware, then it's I'm gonna get the perfect life and I'm gonna be perfect. I think it's important just to say no one is perfect. We're perfect in the imperfect, and I think that the awareness will create a better and lighter life, in that sense that when you are aware, you want to do good things for yourself. That's
Yeah.
what eliminating the bad habits you have, or the bad things that you want to, that's actually how the mindset is then working. You're getting into a positive flow, but just to underline that it's not about getting the perfect life, right?
No. Yeah, I think the aspect of the perfection is so important, because we're even more plagued with the idea of what perfect is now because we have social media. So that's the first, actually, perfection is the first thing that sort of drew me to starting yoga, because that's one of the aspects, at least of Anusara yoga, which is what I did in the late 90s, was that we are already quote perfect, right? There is no such thing as perfect. It just is. There's no imperfect, there's no perfect. It just is. Whatever you are is. And I remember like, oh wow, that is so great. I'm already perfect. Yippee. So it's a dangerous sort of thing that we're living in, and like that we try to be the perfect yogi or the perfect eater, or and it's always going to ebb and flow. And if you can allow for the ebb and flow, allow for the good mood, allow for the negative mood, allow for the junk food, allow for the vegan salad, so the more you can accept the top and like, oh boy, more fun, so that's perfectionism is sort of a plague in our society that we have to completely let go of, and say that if we can fully accept everything bad that's happening to us, and all the bad times, and all like don't feel bad about something that you did that was a part of sort of the negative thing, right? So letting go of perfectionism is a really big step in the conscious living aspect. We don't, there's no, yeah, like let go of perfectionism. It's a huge obstacle for all human beings, but we all try to do it. And I think that like people, it's stress is created through the drive to be perfect. We got to let go of that.
I want to pick you up where you said that conscious living, just the self-inquiring, what did I do good for me today, and what do I maybe wish to improve in my life, or to the second step, maybe becoming more aware of what I eat or what my habits are. But then, as you said, the letting go of the perfect to just be, right?
Yeah.
That's some really, really good.
Yeah, it's this idea that we have to stop trying to be something. The try thing is so limiting. If I could just be more positive, or if I could, this
Have more
idea of,
money.
yeah, it's just the trying to be like that already drives you out of being conscious, because then you move away from the center. Everything that you try to do, try has like restriction and force in it, like I should try, and it messes everything up. Like a dog is not trying to just lay there, he just lays there. You know, it's the human
That-
condition.
yeah.
Humans are
It's also
so,
something we can tap into the power of words, because words like shall, maybe,
oh,
try, get them away.
yeah, they're so bad.
You know, it's so funny because Sixer said yesterday to me, he said, Mom, I'm so tired of you not believing in yourself. If I tell I'm the king, I am the king. I act like the king. I attract the things like the king around me. But if I have a little doubt on myself and he was so spot on, 15 years old. I mean, he thinks though he's God. So that's a little bit, you know,
Yeah.
hard to live with. But I can see that it's so interesting. We're going to keep that for another postcard, that you actually attract the things that you're sending out.
I know.
I know you have a lot of experience about that, Pernilla. So that's we're
Yeah,
going
but I don't
to.
I don't think that I consciously do any of that. Like I don't sit around and say I'm the queen and I'm gonna attract this to myself. Like, I don't think like that. I think only I mean, not all the time, but I live in the moment. I don't think, this is who I don't have an image in my head of something that I'm gonna be,
You
you
just
know.
are.
I just am. So and I actually have been reading this book. It's called More Than a Pretty Space by Reiko Gomez. She's a feng shui expert and a friend of mine. And she talks about like envisioning who you want to be and then envisioning how to make a space in your house to sort of identify that. And I was like, who do I want to be? And I'm like, and it's hard for me to sort of come up with that because I'm just here now. I'm just here.
Yeah, but that's also maybe your new awakening process that you would tap into, because
I know.
because
Yeah.
if someone would enter in your home, they would all of a sudden they would immediately see, oh, Pernilla is like this, she attracts
Yeah.
this, she
Yeah.
that,
And maybe it's
so,
just that I don't think about that like consciously.
but I also have to say that, but we're going to round up now. But the conscious living, and you attract the things you are, you visualize. I mean, there is also a fine line of being completely self-centered. You know what I mean? When you're almost being a little bit narcissistic and it's all about me, myself, and I. And also you're having that. Yeah, but I think this is a very fine balance. People get very caught up. Okay, I do conscious living, or I don't. You know what I want to go, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
So yeah. So that's, I think, a really important point. So like when does sort of my journey become more important than everybody else? And that's just part of the self-inquiry. Like who am I thinking about most of the day? Am I thinking about me, or am I thinking about what I can do for others? I mean, that's like a basic AA thing, like what can I do for others today? How can I pack into the stream of life is one of the sentences in the
being a
big
service
book.
for others. That's
Yeah.
but that's the
Yeah.
that's really
So, but
yeah.
I would say that's a step in the conscious living. You say, if I think about the thoughts that I had in my mind, were they about me, or were they about other people, or were they about nothing?
Or both.
Yeah. You know, so I think if you notice that it's mostly about yourself, then maybe you should change that.
Then go
Maybe
to
you should be like, why am I
shit.
always thinking about myself? You know? But I noticed that with people that are struggling emotionally, and if you have conversations with them, and people that have had traumas or are really scared or are caught in a fight or flight, like we were during COVID, it's much more common that you only see the thought process is about themselves.
Mm.
And it's not, I think that's not, that you can't blame them for this. Like that's a really regular, if I'm scared, I'm going to only think about me,
Mm.
right? I'm going to be like, how can I fix this? What can I do? Who should I
Oh,
call? Whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a little bit tricky there, self-centeredness. If it comes from fear, we can't really blame anybody for that, because it's a part of, it's like if you're a horse and the wolf is coming around the corner, you're going to go, I'm going to run. Ah, and humans, we get scared about things that aren't really happening because we are fearful, right? We also get scared of things that are happening right now, but like real things. But a lot of humans, we're worried, and then we get scared, and we're only thinking about ourselves. And I think that you have to just surrender to and accept. That's not true self-centeredness, like that's
No, I wouldn't identify that as self-centeredness
no.
either.
But I would say if you're going to change there, it's just like having the simple question, who do I spend the time thinking about throughout the day?
Very, very
Louise,
good.
who do you think about throughout the day?
Me, myself, and I, of course.
Yes.
How else do you want me to wake up? How do you want me to be awake if I don't get my own shit together first? No, I'm kidding. Kidding.
Yeah. I mean, I would say.
No, but I think it's, like everything, it's organic. I think that's why it's so important sometimes to have one to talk to, or, you have a friend that you can have a dialogue with, because sometimes when we keep the secret inside, the mind can be very manipulating. There are so many different poisons that we don't see. And when we're becoming aware that, that's the whole yin yoga practice too. It's wonderful how we can really bringing the unconscious up to the consciousness. That, bringing it's the iceberg, we only see the top, what's underneath, So I think that, we need to be loving and caring to ourselves, and enjoy the process even when it's hard, and knowing that this is the journey, this is a process that you're on, and it's not the final destination. It's as wide as the universe.
Yeah. But when you say we have to be loving and kind to ourselves, that's a really, really hard thing to do for most people.
I know, but I think that we need to cultivate it even more.
And how do we cultivate that?
Becoming aware of that. When you're on your yoga mat, just take your knees up to your chest, give yourself a hug. And how does it feel to give yourself a hug?
Yeah.
How does it feel to really just thank that body that's with you wherever you go, even when you're not present, even when you don't feel it, it's still there, it's still working for you.
Your heart is still pumping.
Exactly. But sometimes I even feel my heart, but I know it's pumping. I'm still breathing. So I think that, that's again, those small steps. But I actually do truly believe that if you want to do without going down in the drain with everything around us, and even when we're becoming more awakening, because it's painful to see what you're doing maybe not good for yourself and others, without even, I've seen things with my kids that I've been manipulating them. I never thought of that. And when you're becoming aware of that, of course it's painful, but now I can see it, it ups to the light, and can transform it. But that the whole awakening process, I think that having in mind or being kind to yourself is very important. It's very important to practice self-compassion, because
I think that the kind mind, which is a really good word, I think it's taken me, at least 20 years of recovery to get to not be. And it really was hard for me, and I don't know why. I look at my kids.
I think that, but that's why I think, you need to start. So sometimes the the kind mind is very, very difficult to transform, because the critical mind is so present. But just by doing something good for yourself, putting your hands on your heart, or when you've been in the shower, just feeling the skin, you're becoming more aware, you're present, you can feel it, you can smell it. That's a kind act to yourself.
Yeah. We can talk about this for hours.
I know. We need to wrap up now. We need to let go. We need to let go and freak out again. So now we're going to step up from the awakening process and being unawake, which actually is not possible, right? When you start the process, it's hard to not want it to dig deeper, right?
Yeah. I feel like it was, for me, it's like a door that opened and then you can't ever close it again.
That's very beautiful.
So once it starts, it's sort of like there's like a flood of energy that just moves you forward and in whatever direction it takes you. But it
Wow,
doesn't ever stop.
wonderful. So
Yeah.
we're going to wrap up here. We're going to say thank you to everyone who's been listening. We're going to be back with podcast number 3. These podcasts are all self-contained. So if you haven't listened to number 2 before or 1, you can always tap into wherever you feel like it's resonating within you and attracting you. I think that, do we want to like just end? We've been going through the awakening process, how some elements of that. We're ending a little bit with one of the tools, the conscious living. You gave us some good inspiration with a little small step of just, becoming a little bit more aware of how I'm living my life here and now, right?
Yeah.
So
Hold on one second, Louise.
yeah.
We're gonna stop now because I hear footsteps and they're probably looking for me
Okay.
upstairs.
We're going to say
Puss,
thank
puss.
you so very much. Puss och kram.
Hey, hey.